Hello, it's really nice to meet all of you. My name's Caitlin.
I'm Megan.
I'm Amy.
And I'm Lorraine.
And we are Power Over Periods. This is our campaign.
We are a group of young campaigners who feel strongly that by being proactive, we can change the societal norms that we believe have come about through years of living with a period stigma. We therefore decided to base our campaign on tackling period poverty in the hopes that our efforts can work collectively with other young people and organisations towards eradicating period poverty altogether.
So what actually is period poverty? Period poverty is defined by the Royal College of Nursing as the lack of access to sanitary products due to financial constraints. Out of all the social issues, we decided to campaign on period poverty because
all around the world, women are being held back in life and put almost in danger simply because of their period. Period poverty is a global issue, but in the UK alone, 1 in 10 girls can't afford to buy menstrual products. Many missing school as a result of this. But period poverty isn't just about affordability. Many women and girls and people who menstruate don't even have hygienic facilities or feel able to manage their periods with dignity, often due to stigma or superstitious kind of religious dogma around menstruation. Despite period products being widely available in the UK, 10% of girls in the UK have been unable to afford sanitary wear at some point, but that's not all. According to Plan International,
1 in 7 girls have struggled to afford sanitary wear. 1 in 5 girls have had to switch to less suitable sanitary wear due to cost. And more than 1 in 10 girls have had to improvise sanitary wear due to affordability issues. The Borgum Project estimates that the lifetime cost of having a period accounts to over £18,000. For low-income families who find it hard to afford even basic necessities, it's almost impossible for them to afford menstrual products each month.
This is clearly an issue that needs to be tackled, yet so do many of the stigmas surrounding menstruation that help perpetuate this problem. Lack of education and conversation around periods can give rise to shame about this perfectly natural, healthy bodily function. In turn, this pushes the conversation away from periods and prevents girls and women feeling comfortable about asking for what they need.
In 2017, when Plan International carried out their studies, they found that around half of girls aged 14 to 21 were still embarrassed by their periods. Almost 71% of girls said they'd felt embarrassed about buying period products. 1 in 10 girls had been asked not to talk about their periods in front of their mother or father. Only 1 in 5 girls had felt comfortable discussing their period with teachers. As well as providing affordable solutions to manage periods comfortably and hygienically, empowering girls and women to feel comfortable talking about their periods can also help bring about awareness and action to eradicate period poverty. And to end embarrassment and shame around periods and to fight period poverty, men and boys must also recognise that they play a part. 42% of US women say they've been period shamed by men. 60% of women said that they felt embarrassed when they menstruate, due in large to pervasive taboos and the attitudes of men. Important and open discussions about periods need to be held in the public sphere in order to raise awareness. It takes both men and women to make that happen.
One of our ideals that we based our campaign on was that everyone who menstruates should have access to period products. It's a fundamental human right to be able to look after yourself. We aim to do this by contacting businesses about implementing and advertising hygiene donation banks for sanitary products. We've already set up emails and social medias to help us do this. Increasing the amount of hygiene banks in supermarkets would mean that less people would be forced to miss out on education. Finally, we wish to stop the stigma that may make people feel embarrassed about having periods and not being able to afford simple things like sanitary products. By educating people on what menstruation is, issues surrounding period poverty and complications caused by menstruation, like mental health issues and emotional side effects. We have set up Instagram, TikTok, Twitter accounts to advocate for this, and we would love to collaborate with any existing organisations to help boost this campaign.
Furthermore, Morrison's runs an Ask for Sandy initiative. This allows people to receive free sanitary products in the form of a discreet parcel without the embarrassment that comes with not being able to afford them. Our aim is to normalise the discussion around periods. So this initiative is not to perpetuate the idea that periods should be kept a secret, but to help those in poverty avoid financial embarrassment.
Having spoken to many of our peers, we have noticed that there is a lack of opportunity to do so. Several shops such as Boots, Superdrug and Tesco's have period product banks where people can make their donations of sanitary products, which are then distributed to the necessary charities. There are currently 840 drop-off locations across the whole of the UK, and through Power Over Periods we hope to dramatically increase this amount, as it is simply not enough for the population of those who cannot gain access to sanitary products in any other way or find themselves in a worsening financial situation due to having to buy period products.
We therefore believe our campaign is very important as it will be able to benefit the most vulnerable people in our community, helping them to unashamedly accept their body regardless of their financial situation. We also feel that those who donate to our future hygiene banks will have a sense of satisfaction that they have been able to help those in a less financially stable situation than themselves.
In terms of our achievements so far, we've been able to send letters and emails to big brand supermarkets, including Tesco's and the Co-op. We actually got a reply from the CEO of the Co-op, and Steve Morrells, the CEO of the Co-op, believed that period poverty was a really important issue. Therefore, he's actually referred us to one of the CEO of the Co-op's food department, who said they'd be in further contact with us in the future about initiations and things that they can do to help us with our campaign.
In terms of goals, we would like to aim for something achievable. This is why we will continue to communicate and meet with companies about implementing hygiene banks and establish an Ask for Sandy campaign in their shops. We are also considering approaching small businesses, including restaurants and cafes, about providing sanitary products in their toilets.
Alongside this, we will continue to advocate and educate on our social media accounts, because we believe that even if we can only educate one person directly, this will make an impact because they will then understand more about menstruation and can pass their knowledge on to others.
Help us change the cycle.
Thank you for listening to our campaign. I was just going to say thank you for listening, and we'd love to answer any questions that you might have.
I just thought it was really important that you made that link between education as well, because obviously the poverty is an issue, but the education, if people don't understand why it's an issue, why it's important, they're not going to be able to tackle poverty. And I think between the link between education and the fact that you identified as a problem that men can need to address as well, that's really important, because as a man, I always felt like in school that I wasn't taught properly about periods and that sort of thing. And you know, if I could have a daughter, if I don't understand that, how can I help as well?
Definitely, because I feel like that tackling the root of the problem is really where we need to start. And from my personal group of friends, if I'm ever talking, I'm quite open with my friends, kind of, I don't really care. But it's almost like boys and men and people who don't experience periods feel almost embarrassed for us. It's just a weird kind of stigma. And it's such a normal bodily function. If you were bleeding out of our arms, you wouldn't have a problem, right?
I like to ask, in your schools, when this topic came up, did you talk about it as a whole class, or were the boys and girls separated off?
The boys and girls are separated off. So like the boys literally only know about periods from what we've said to them.
So it's like a
secret
thing that they can't hear about.
I think that one of the big issues is they're so grossed out by it because they don't know what's going on, and they're confused, and they're like, well, why are they keeping it a secret?
Do you know, in some of your classes, did they talk to you about boys' functions and ejaculation? So they taught you about what happens with boys' bodies and boys' functions, but they don't teach boys about what happens with girls' bodies and girls' functions.
I personally never got any education about puberty or anything like that in either of my schools.
Oh.
Like all of this education came from like my parents and stuff that I've been taught myself, which is why I'm particularly passionate about
Yeah,
this.
it was the same with me. We had one lesson in year 6 about periods where they literally just said, you will bleed once a month, and that was the end.
Good luck with it.
I think as well, like the big thing about it is that people are just so unaware of what is going on and what is normal and what's not normal, and people are ashamed to think, maybe what's happening to me isn't normal, and then don't want to go and speak to their parents about it because their parents have also been taught that it's something that you don't talk about and it's shameful, and then you can't get maybe medical help that you need because like people don't want to talk about it because it's gross and it only happens to women, and like they get stroppy and stuff on their period, and it's like it's not about that, it's just something that happens naturally, and it's like why is it, I don't understand why
the human race would die out if it didn't.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Why?
it's quite important.
Exactly.
Yeah. I was really interested in, I thought your presentation was brilliant. I really liked the way you led into each other and fed into each other. That was really nice. And what you've got there, I think looks really powerful. So it's kind of in two parts, isn't it, yours? One is about like the education and educating everybody, so everyone can have that conversation. Because to your point, a lot of girls have like really painful or might have endometriosis and these kind of things that actually, if you're not even told what that is, you think this is a normal level of pain, you might go through years of suffering that you don't need to. And then there's the bit around the period poverty. I just wanted to ask, so some of your information was like on a national thing. I didn't know that about Morrison's, that they did that, and that Boots and Superdrug. Do you know what happens like locally here? And do you have an idea of companies like Price Check Toiletries that are based in Sheffield who purchase things on a huge scale that you might be able to tap into? So I suppose my question is, what exists in Sheffield and what are the gaps that we might be able to help put you in touch with people to plug?
Yeah, so I think from previously doing this campaign with my NCS social action group, we did do loads and loads of research, and personally I had no idea about any of the hygiene banks or like yourself, the Morrison's thing. So that was with deep research. I think one of the benefits of doing like something like this is to get networking with people like you, because we aren't aware of these things, even with like intensive research. So personally, and I think as a group, we're not aware of anything like this, which is why we set up our campaign really.
Do you guys know through the food banks, do the food banks take receipt of sanitary products? Do they need more than they get?
I don't know the answer to that, but I know that they don't get it regularly. It's quite sporadic.
Yeah, food banks are one of the things that we were planning on trying to like open up like donation sites and stuff for, because my dad used to volunteer at a food bank, and he said that like the things, obviously food is something that a lot of people donate, but nobody ever thinks about sanitary products like deodorant, shampoos, conditioners, which are all stuff that people who can't afford can't afford it and who need to use the food banks, they also obviously need to keep themselves healthy, safe and clean, which if they can't afford food, then food quite often takes priority over hygiene,
I
doesn't
think
it?
that's the same with especially youth homeless shelters as well. When I was researching into charities and stuff, we also found out that almost no one contributes to the period poverty side of like helping like young people in the homeless shelters. So we're definitely going to try and work with those kind of companies.
There's a charity you'll have heard of, Fair Share. They have an office in Sheffield and they work with a lot of the big supermarkets. I'm happy to do an introduction to a lady called Helen there, because she might, in terms of like what gets distributed to the food banks and so on, that just might be an interesting connection.
Thank you, that'd be great. Yeah, I really appreciate that.
Did you have a question?
Yeah, actually, I thought it was brilliant. I think the question to you really is, I think just as you suggested, changing the dialogue, and I think education plays an important key, but how do you go about changing the dialogue where religion and taboo and culture and tradition kind of comes into play? So, of course, you've got the education system, but how do you go about tackling this issue within ethnic minority communities, or even communities where they've got a stereotypical idea or view of around periods? So is there any kind of work you think perhaps could be done around that in terms of directing, this, your campaign towards communities where...
I think definitely even, obviously we're not going to go around changing people's religion slightly, we're not going to do that. I think even just initiating a conversation, that is the first step at this point, because even that it's not being talked about. I think maybe initiating the conversation. People will be uncomfortable talking about it at first. Even I was. I mean, I'm completely fine with it now, but it was through conversation and constant kind of exposure to it. So maybe it's definitely like education, but in terms of religion and stuff, just talking about it as if it is a normal thing. Here is our normal thing. Yeah, just more conversations rather than like changing religion.
I also think that like we were gonna try and make it so that like supermarkets and stuff were aware that a lot of people don't actually know that the hygiene bags are there until like they've left the shop. So it's like we were thinking about maybe trying to ask them to like advertise that they're doing it, because first of all that means that more people are going to buy the sanitary products to donate. Second of all, like it gives their companies like they get to say we're doing this, we're donating these things, and it's like it's making other people just like aware of us like knowing that it's not a shameful thing if it's like advertising that people like have periods and there are these donation banks and stuff everywhere.
It's really, in your research, when you were researching in terms of advertising, was it predominantly advertising, raising awareness that was using the English language, or were there any kind of other translation offers available for those that didn't speak English, let's just say?
Okay, I actually don't think we've considered that, but you've made that aware to us, and we think that's really,
I think that's
really
definitely something that we need to think about.
Yeah, thank you for
That
that.
sounds brilliant.
Yeah, and also going back to what you've seen about like ethnic minorities, I'm part of like a lot of like youth groups and projects and stuff for like less privileged like ethnic minorities. So we could definitely look at doing some like fundraising awareness sort of things within some projects.
Definitely. As a part of our Gen Z training and stuff, we learned a lot about like tokenization. So we didn't really want to talk on behalf of, for example, the trans community, people who menstruate, or me being a white woman, I can't really talk on behalf of, I know, people of colour and different ethnic communities or religious backgrounds. So that's why we really want to reach out and collaborate, so we can kind of promote people who can talk about it without kind of tokenizing people that we can't really take advantage of.
Just a really quick, if I could point, I'll really quick. And I don't know if this will back into a future thing, but I'm just thinking about like the use of like reusable sanitary products as well, and whether or not there's an opportunity there to maybe work with some organisations that might have access to reusable products, because then of course you might be able to reduce the amount of times that people maybe have to ask for something. But I also appreciate that there might be a luxury for someone to use a reusable product that might have, washing implications and, all of that sort of stuff as well.
Yeah.
I think we did talk about that briefly at one point, didn't we?
Yeah, I think there's a subtopic like underneath it.
There are a couple of Instagram accounts that we follow that we were talking about possibly like messaging and seeing if they'll work with us, who do donate big quantities of reusable, like sustainable period products that obviously in an ideal world that'll be best, but they do tend to be more expensive in like
Very expensive.
to start with, even if overall they are cheaper and like more like they're better. But for somebody to like buy to donate, maybe people would want to buy stuff that's kind of one-time use because it's cheaper. I don't really know, but it's definitely something that we should think about.
It would be the best
have a
option,
look
wouldn't it, if it was just an app, like something that people had that was kind of gifted by the government almost to every single young person as they start their have periods. It's given a pack, that would be
I
amazing.
think eventually the aim is to maybe get into like councils, local governments, then the national government, as in Scotland, all their period products are free. So definitely like one of our top aims is to get conversations within Parliament about making all kind of sanitary products free for women.
I'd love to see that
That's
really well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We've only just had the VAT taken off.
Yeah.
When
Yeah,
was that?
tax on
This week?
tax,
2018.
2018, yeah. Pink tax still persists, Just another issue.
How scary is
Yeah.
that stat that it costs you £18,000 over the course of your, I mean, what a, an inconvenience for you as a female to have to find 18 grand more than your male counterpart to just be.
While being paid less.
Yeah.
That's another good campaign.
Yeah.
Okay, well done.
Thank you so much.